Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Khaliq Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision, and I'm on here for a quick hangout today. Today is Grammy Day 2015, and just thought I'd do a quick one to just kind of go over it. I know a lot of people are probably off and doing their pre-Grammy stuff and everything, and I'm going to be off and doing it as well. But I just wanted to get on here real quick and kind of talk about an overview of what's happening with the Grammys and just some of the people that are in there. And if you are out there watching me now live and in real time, feel free to come inside and join us and let's have a discussion about some of your favorites, why you think they got there. It's a very unique honor to receive a Grammy. It's one of those things where you become very proud after you've worked all your life to get there and get something like that. But quite frankly, it's one of those things too where if you don't get there, you can have a body of work that's just as good or better than everybody that's won on these Grammys. So be proud of what you do and where you get, because a lot of this has to do with just being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people, and everything just lining up, all the stars lining up for you. It's kind of what happened with me. I feel that I've done uh some great things in my life. I've had some great success. I feel very good and blessed about a lot of things. But the blessed part is the biggest part that resonates with me, because it just so happened for me to end up on the right project with the right people at the right time. They needed my skill sets. It's usually one of those things where they didn't really need it, but things lined up. I ended up working for Marcus Miller, and Marcus Miller already had Dave Isaac as his engineer, and Dave was a very great, capable engineer. But Dave is also a great and capable producer as well, and he was helping Marcus a lot with the production, and they were definitely helping them, bouncing each other off. So, as you know, I always say it's because your brain is divided in hemispheres, and one side is going to be creative, and the other side is going to be more analytical, and one side is better for engineering. Engineering hits your analytical side. I think that's the left brain activity, and whereas on the creative side is going to come out when you're trying to do production and everything. And crossing hemispheres is not easy for most people. Usually, once you're in one side, you have to stay in that side, and you're pretty much stuck there to be the most effective. If you try to bounce back and forth between tasks, usually both tasks suffer a bit because they don't get the best of what you need to focus on at the moment. So I was simply lucky to be somebody that was capable to free up Dave, where he could go ahead and do his production, and I could handle the engineering side. And then we bounced together, and he liked what I did. We both had a lot of similar ideas and everything like that. So it resonated. Marcus liked what I did, so it resonated with him, and things happen. My boy Dave Hampton put us in touch. He's like, that's how it really all came together. He's like, hey man, you need to meet this guy. Y'all seem like you got a lot in common and everything. And sure enough, we did. I used to tell you guys some of the stories about me and Dave Isaac, because we were both, one of the initial things was we were both definitely into martial arts back in the day, when Bruce Lee was coming out, and everybody had never seen anything like that. So everybody was walking around trying to suddenly be Chinese in the hood. I used to walk around with the little black shoes that he had, and the white socks, and you have the kung fu pants and all that. And I did that just along with everybody else, thinking I was Bruce Leroy. But hey, it resonated with us. We both knew what that was about. We both felt good. We cracked jokes and checked it out. But more importantly, we both had a lot of common things with music. Both played guitar, both loved like old school funk and things like that. A lot of the same music and records. So anyway, I say all that to say this: the Grammy is a wonderful thing. In fact, I got mine sitting here, right here. It's a little little dusty and grimy, but you know, I got mine here, and I am very proud of having it. And it's one of those things where it's like, wow, that's something I used to dream of when I was a kid, you know. But you think sometimes that it never will happen, and when it does happen, a lot of times it's just because things line up for you. And when they line up all right and everything, I just bless and say thank you every day that, you know, I'm one of the lucky few. But most of you that are out there, regardless of where you're at in your career, regardless of what it is you're trying to do, where you're trying to get to in your career, um, don't worry about the awards and the trinkets. That's not the goal. The goal was always about loving music, always about connecting with people, because this is a business of relationships. Dave Hampton always stresses that, you know, everybody in this business, you know, loves Dave Hampton because he's a guy that he's definitely very social. He's a connector, and you know, he's a communicator and everything. So, you know, he and I met just from just kind of hanging out and chilling and talking. And now to this day, you know, he's one of my very best friends, you know. So I consider him my brother. In fact, that's how close we are. So it's one of those things where don't worry about the awards. The awards are nice, you know. I'm very happy that I got this, but you know, it's only a side note to what my more important thing is that I really love music. I love just the sound and what it does and everything. So I want to talk today about Grammys, some of the people that got there, because a lot of the people, like take for example, Sam Smith. I love this guy's voice. I mean, I have a feeling he's going to take Best New Artist. I don't see how anybody else can beat him out on that particular thing, because there's a lot of great records out there. But this guy just came out of nowhere, it seems like, although that's, you know, that's always a misnomer as well. Pretty much in most cases, nobody just comes out of nowhere. They usually have been doing it, and then suddenly that overnight success was actually a lifetime of work. But that being said, this guy in his singing is so deep. His singing is so pure. The tone of his voice and everything he has going on. It's amazing to me. First time I heard him, I was like, wow, who is this guy? Listen to the way he turns a phrase. Listen to how he hits these syllables, how he puts air in. He resonates and thickens up certain notes and phrases. He pushes and pulls on the groove and things like this. This is something that you can teach it, but you have to have an amount of it inside of you naturally. You really have to have it to know what it feels like to do that. It has to already kind of be there, and then it gets nurtured, you know. If you don't know it at all, it's a hard thing to explain to somebody, is because it comes from a place in your soul that can't be put into words. So this guy, I mean, first time I heard him, he moved me. Then we talk about, you know, some of the standards that are there. Of course, I mean, it's funny, like Beyonce, you know, when you get up to the top, you know, of course, the haters are going to always continually keep coming out. The haters are going to keep wondering, well, why does this person keep doing it? You know, they're not real. Beyonce is that good. I'm sorry. She keeps doing it over and over and over again. You don't get lucky that often by not being really good at what you do, you know. And now I'm not even talking about whether you like how she sings or her style of music or her choice in wardrobe or whatever. She's got the whole package, you know. She's studied. You can tell, you know, what's going on. Katy Perry's the same way. Katy Perry, you can listen to all this. I mean, years ago when she first came out with I Kissed a Girl and everything, I did a tutorial breaking down the lyrics and to see how well crafted these lyrics are and why they resonated with the world. There's a lot of ninja stuff going in behind the scenes on that song. So it wasn't just some catchy pop song, you know. Look at what's her name? Oh, my brain is tripping out right now. I'll come back to it. Oh, Taylor Swift. Yeah, I just went dark for a second. I'm getting older, y'all. You gotta get these little memory lapses every now and then. I know who I'm talking about. See the picture in my mind. It's like, pull out the name, Khaliq. Okay, but anyway, there's a reason why she's so catchy. She's very, very talented over and over and over again. It's no accident, y'all, you know, so you can hate if you want. I say you need to be studying, you know. Um, what I'll tell you a great songwriter too that I really like is Sia. Sia is a great songwriter and artist. I had no idea that she had written for so many people and just very much a big, huge success story. And now having it the success for herself as well. But I see why, you know, I mean, very serious craftsmanship in what she does. And, you know, some of these people in here. So let me see. Oh, Ed Sheeran. Yeah, we talk about Ed Sheeran. Something different about this guy, and he is very talented. You know, let me see. I'll go back to it because we got some photos of some people, like some backstage stuff at the Grammys. I want to show you guys and kind of share it with you, you know. But it's a common theme and thread with all of these people of how their talent really is. There's a lot of details that'll serve you that if you want to make it in the music industry, and I'm all about talking about, even though this is, I talk about music and mixing a lot and everything. Well, the mixing, because it's the final polish that gets it out in front of people. You've got to know that no matter how great a songwriter, how great a recording engineer, how great an editor, how great an artist you are and everything, if the final polish doesn't bring it all together at the end so that your package makes people feel what you're doing, it can all be for nothing. So this is why I talk so much about getting the mixing part right and realizing that everything that you do should be with the thought towards mixing. This is how we learned back in the day, because when we started, there weren't no computers. You couldn't save your mixes. So everything that you did, starting out from the moment you started your tracking date, recording live instruments or whatever, because that's how we did it. Nano sequencers and all that. It was live and put it down and capture it. But you had to capture it with the final thought in mind of what the final record may be kind of like. Even if you hadn't heard it, you got to kind of imagine something and formulate something. This is part of what I do in my training, for example, because I base it on what I call my vision system of training, which is vision is the acronym that stands for visually integrated sound inside an organized nucleus. And I call it, you know, that's my vision system. But what that brings to people is like, get it in your mind first, even before your ears. Well, you know, your ears got to hear it and then formulate it. But once your mind and ears get it together and come together as one thing, you've got to create some kind of final vision, a final picture in your mind's ear, you know, that what this thing's supposed to be like as a record when it's put together. So that's a huge thing. And a lot of these people that have pulled things together and end up winning a Grammy, they have all the elements to just come together. You know, I mentioned Sam Smith and the way he turns these phrases, and it's like, you know, when he says he puts a tone in his voice like on "Stay With Me," and then he says, "This ain't love, it's clear to see," and he just bends some of these words within there. You really get inside more than just the lyric that he's saying, you know, or that other song where he's talking about. I'm trying to think of the line. Now I'll come back to that too. You know, I'm a little slow at pulling these lines out, but he has some certain lines that's like, man, that just stood out. You know, hit songs in general, boy, they fascinate me anyway. Like to me, like one of the best songs that I've heard this year. I don't think it got nominated for a Grammy, you know, but that song "Jealous." Jealous, you know, you know, it's like the crafting those lyrics. I love it because it's like, when is the last time? In fact, can't think of any time I've ever heard the word hellish in a lyric. It's my right to be hellish. I still get jealous. I mean, that's so clever. Oh my God. I was like, oh wow, what a great lyric. You know, the hook in that lyric, you know, and you can imagine it, you know, he's puffing his chest and all that, you know, so you can visualize all these things. This is what makes music a hit. This is what makes these people get out here, and whether you get a Grammy or not, you know, getting through with it resonates with people. It's a huge deal, and it's not easy. Everybody acts like pop music and having mass success is so easy. It's the hardest thing in the world, you know. So I don't put down pop musicians at all. It's the hardest thing in the world to get there. Some people get lucky, but those that do it over and over and over and over and over again, I'm studying. You better too. If you want to break through and have that, you can be elitist if you want to. That'll keep you on the fringes. You know, if you want to get in, study what these people are doing and get there. You know, guy like John Legend, just love his talent. You know, he's got something unique in his voice, but he's a great writer. I mean, just all the things, all the elements of there. Pharrell, I mean, Pharrell, he's proven long before he even became to the forefront as an artist, just proving his thing. But he has a vision that's so clear. It's so mapped out that you can tell that this guy, it just goes there, you know. So a song like Happy that takes over the world, and it's just amazing that this song, I mean, it made him cry when he just saw the reaction to how it spread across the world and everything. That's what music's supposed to do, you know, reach out and grab everybody. And how proud do you have to be when your music can affect the whole world like that? You know, Taylor Swift would Shake It Off. I mean, you can't get that song out your head, you know. I saw it on somewhere, some blog or something like that, where a lot of rappers and people in hip hop, is finally like, oh my God, they hated to admit it. It's like, can't get that song out of my head. It's like, you just can't ignore it when it's irresistible like that. Wouldn't you like what you do to have that kind of level of acceptance and everything? I love Jessie J and Ariana Grande. Now, she's another one that is an amazing new vocalist, though. Ariana Grande, I'm talking about. So I'll be curious to see where that goes. But I'm still with Sam Smith. Uh, who else? Coldplay, yeah. Who can? Iggy Azalea. I like the catchiness of the songs that she's done and everything. And this may be controversial to some people and all that, but I mean, I feel what I feel. I'm the jury's out whether she's going to be long term or whether this is, this is her time to shine now, whether it's a long term deal or not. The jury's still out. We'll see what the next one brings and everything. I mean, the difference between somebody like her and a Nicki Minaj, for example. Nicki's the original, and then everybody else that comes along will give you a copy of that original. It's a duplicate, and duplicates are never going to be as clear as the copies and everything. And Nicki's proven to be here over and over again because she has some kind of magic and everything. I'm not downplaying anybody that does what they do, because it's your time, do your thing and grab your thing. But over the course of time, those that really shine through, that have that little extra something, there's, the playing field gets narrowed more and more and more. So I love it when anybody has these hits and breaks through and has success. But there's really only a few originals that keep coming through over and over again. Christina Aguilera, time and time and time again. It ain't no accident. This girl is the real deal and got it, So, like I said, everybody goes through their moments when the world likes to go through their haterade phase and hate on people and everything. But, hey, you can't deny real talent, So, like I said, these people are going to be there, over and over and over again. They know what it is, and it's no accident that they got there, Let me see. How about Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett did a duet, right? And it's a trip. A guy like Tony Bennett. I mean, how many decades? You got to respect that. I mean, there's just something about this guy. What is it? Him, and say even in people like Madonna and people like that, they can keep coming back. Even I mean. I haven't seen, so I'm not sure of everybody that's in here, but like, take for example, who is that? Um, uh, Tom Jones that just did his duet. This is a cat that's been around for decades as well. He keeps coming back. He can partner with people, Barbara Streisand, people like that. Hold on, got my boy Dave here. What's up, Dave? Oh, I sent it a couple of times. You didn't get it? Uh, Let me go back again. I sent it like 3 times. I thought, yeah, I'm on right now. I'm broadcasting, and hold on for a second. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. We got Dave Hampton here. I thought Dave was gonna be on, and Bill Kamek, but for some reason I sent out my invites and you guys didn't get. Dave, say what's up to everybody and say you'll be on in a second because we're gonna figure
Hey, what's happening, y'all? I've been waiting and haven't gotten anything, so let me
Okay,
see
let,
what's up.
let's solve this problem. Dave, what I'm doing right now is going back on here and I'm going to send you another invite. And if you don't get it this time, it could be something going on, Hangouts act funny. But I also posted it in Pensado students in the Hangout part. So do you have that link?
Yeah, but I'm in my Google Mail.
Okay, let me try.
So I just usually go to my Google Mail and you guys it'll come through there.
Okay, I'm sending in that right now. Let me be sure I got the right one though. Did you change your mail, your email?
No,
I just noticed something. Hold on for a second. I think I just noticed something. Yeah, I've got davehampton12@gmail.com. Is that not right?
that's me. That's me, and that's where I'm at right now.
I just sent you an invite. Just
okay, let me go to inbox. Here's what you missed from January 30th is my last one.
January. Yeah, something's up because we was just on. Let me see if there's another one because you used to have an AOL one, right? Maybe that.
Well, no, but that's just my AOL. I've always gotten to these things through Google Chat.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I just sent it to you, and you should have it. I see your name in here.
Yeah.
You still haven't gotten it, huh?
Let me go here and see if it'll even show you. It doesn't even show you on a chat. Like if I go to my friends, right? And I'm looking at your thing. I have Khaliq Glover. It doesn't even show you on a call. I could usually see you on a call. Now, if I go like this right now, I'm calling you, but it's showing that.
That's weird. Yeah, because it's
showing me inviting you.
Okay, that's weird. But I tell you what, let me copy the link and then I'm gonna send it to your email.
I'll be right.
Yeah, that must be what happened with Bill too, because Bill said he was waiting to get on, and I sent it to him.
Yeah.
I think there's just something going on with these Hangouts. Something is happening. Okay. All right. I'll send it to you, and if we don't get it through in a second, I'll hit you back. Okay. Bye bye. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. We're trying to solve some technical stuff here, so give me a second while I send my boy his invite via email, and let's see. Let's get on here. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna send it. Send it to Dave. Okay. And we'll be straight. So stand by, people. I'm just trying to get him in here real quick. And we'll be all good. Okay. Let's get that out to Dave. Uh-oh. That's weird. Okay. Okay. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to make it happen. Okay. All right, so that should go out. Okay, let's see if he gets it. Okay, guys, thank you. I'm sorry for the delay, the technical issues, and everything. Send it to Dave. Hopefully, he'll be on in a second, and then I gotta solve the problem with Bill. Then, and let me do that. Solve the problem with Bill because Bill should have it as well. Okay, to Bill. Okay, interesting. Could be my computer just acting crazy too. You never know. Connections and all that. Okay.
Okay, is that good? Can you hear me?
So let's go over here.
Can you hear me?
Get him in, and then get the other folks in.
Can you hear me? Khaliq. Khaliq. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me, man? Can you hear me, Khaliq?
All right, we got Dave. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Ooh, that was weird.
Can you hear me?
Uh,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Interesting. Now, what is going on? I don't see anything coming up on your
Can you hear me now?
microphone either.
Can,
Yeah, I don't
can
see
you
the
hear me
bar
now?
moving.
I can see my mic every time I talk.
Nah, can't
Okay,
see the
can you
bar
hear me
moving.
now?
Your meter is not moving, so
It's
you
moving
don't
on
have
my end.
audio.
Hold on.
Check your settings. It's moving on your end?
Yeah.
That's weird. That's weird. Okay, I'll tell you what, stay on there, Dave. I'm going to quit out of this and come back on. Maybe it's just something weird happening. You guys were having a little technical difficulty, so I'm going to quit. Dave's going to stay on here, so that'll keep it open, and I'm going to come back on. Maybe it's just a connection problem. Okay, let me quit, and you stay on, Dave, and
Yeah. I don't see anybody else on. Who else is on?
Maybe she doesn't want to be here anymore.
check 1 2 1 2. I'm here. Can you hear me, Dave? No? Let me check my settings
Yeah, I
and
can
be
hear
sure
you. Can you hear
everything,
me?
nothing went haywire.
Can you hear me? I hear you.
Okay, let me try. Hey, Dave, say something for a second.
Hey.
Nothing?
Hey.
I don't hear nothing. That's weird. You can hear me, but I can't hear you at all. And that's very, very strange. Hold on. Let me try putting it through another speaker system and see if I can get that. You still talking? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
I can hear you from my internal speakers now. Okay, I'll just leave that on. So I don't know. That's something weird going on here. I probably need to save it. What's up, man?
Not much, man. How's it going?
It's going. I was up there just kind of letting people know about the the whole situation with the Grammys and talking about a few
Oh,
different people and all that, and what I thought about how they got there and why they're there, and yeah, so that's all, so do me a
cool.
favor, David, because maybe there's something going on my end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the link, send it to Bill, okay?
Okay.
Here's the link here. Shoot it out to Bill and see, maybe they'll get through on your end. And yeah, because Bill was sitting around waiting. I was wondering what was up. So I just started it and was talking with you guys, talking with the people, anybody listening. So I apologize, you guys. We had a little technical glitch. Something's going on with the Hangouts where it wasn't getting through, but we got it solved now, so we're on board. And yeah, Dave, I was basically talking about the some people want to hate on the merits of who makes it to the Grammys and who doesn't. Um,
Right.
but I don't believe in that. I believe in hold on, just trying to type something. I believe in you get to there regardless of whether you're pop or whatever through basically the same thing that everybody has usually is hard work and a lot of time behind the scenes. There's really no such thing as an overnight success. There was a lot of work that came to make that overnight happen, and a lot of behind the scenes things. There's a few people I was giving kind of my take on, like somebody like Sam Smith coming along, who I think is one of the greatest voices I've heard in a long while. I love his singing. I love his tone, his control, and everything. So I was not a bit surprised that he's up for being an Artist of the Year. And in fact,
Yeah.
I think he has a very, very good chance of winning that, because there's just something. He's one of those one of a kind, unique people. Him and somebody like Ariana Grande. They're kind of freaks of nature that come along. They're more than just singers. They're not ordinary singers that are good singers. They've got that little special it factor too that
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
Mm.
And then the old staples like Beyonce's won so many times, people are always hating now because she's won so many, but I'm like, it's no accident that she keeps winning. I mean, the girl's very, very talented. She works her butt off. She studied. She knows I mean, she has serious foundation. And those are the people
Hmm.
that make it through. They keep coming back over and over and over again. You can tell, and it's not an accident. It's not politics or whatever. These people put in the work, and anybody who wants to achieve that type of milestone in their life and their career, they've got to realize that that's what it takes. It really takes almost a superhuman effort to make things like that happen. So, what do you think on some of the things and the people that have gotten
I
it
mean,
done?
it's some of, I think a lot of it, yeah, is hard work. I think there are times, and I was just reading some entries that people were doing on Facebook from the East Coast feeds, and just comments in general, depending upon the genre of music. I think there are sometimes things that go on that are politics. Right now, we're facing a lot of people who are looking at, you know, an act like last comment I saw, maybe 20 minutes ago, somebody commented to the fact of how many Grammys that Macklemore had versus some of the more traditional, well-known acts in that genre.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very real thing when you watch that aspect of the show and you see, yeah, there is no answer for some things, yeah, because this is not just a record sales kind of thing. It's, this is something that's voted on by the peers, so there's a certain amount of it that is peer politics.
Absolutely.
It is what it is, and so we have to be honest about how things arrive at that, the balance or seemingly imbalance of some things. But I think also you can't stop the train from running. Obviously the business has changed, and there's some things that when you analyze his business model, there is a reason why he has the success and branding that he did in order to gain him that market share.
Right.
It doesn't matter that he didn't do what somebody did on a 10, 20-year career before. It doesn't matter, because that's part of what happens when people can study what's come before them. they can create a system that gets them where they're going faster. Beyonce, the same thing. There's
Yeah.
you know, that she's had a bunch of female acts to study and go, yeah, that's cool. Tina Turner, this or that, Diana Ross, but she's coming along at a time that's several generations removed from even these powerhouse women who are still alive.
Yeah.
And she's developing her machine, and at the point where she's making the money that she does, you know, you've transcended a career, and now anytime you make a move, you are a financial instrument. Okay, so it's a whole different thing. You're not just singing songs. You're creating revenue, and a bunch of other people's revenue depends upon you. And if you get the right people in your corner, and you get the right amount of people whose revenue depends upon you, you're gonna be up in the clouds for a little while with a lot of work, because there's a lot of people who like the revenue associated with being connected to someone like a Beyonce. And so they will keep you working, and they will keep your name in the light because you generate income.
Yeah.
If we just take,
I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Let's take away from the hit songs and the studying, and yep, she's all that too. Let's take it to the longevity in the business, and what really runs this business. This business is run off of money. And you know, people don't want to see acts that don't make money. They don't want to get involved in things that don't make money. So, you know, everybody you're watching and you see on the show, at some point in time, it works for them and the people that are around them.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's part of the entertainment machine. So I think, you know, yeah, there's a lot of people who make it on sheer guts and glory. I think when you watch a lot of the Grammy activity the week before, I think everybody should kind of look up Bob Dylan's acceptance speech.
Yeah,
I think everybody should read Bob Dylan's acceptance speech. You know, look up Bob Dylan if you don't know who he is. Learn some of his songs, but look at who he thanks and look at what he says. I think again, Bob Dylan came on at a different time. Everybody he mentioned came on at a different time, but again, that was a time where technically the business wasn't as complicated as now. So you really had to have raw talent. And you had to be able to produce a result very quickly. And you had to be able to play live. You had to be able to do a lot of things to prove, in fact, that you were worth the gamble of focusing money and access and attention around you and your career. There was a lot more on the line earlier on before everything was automated. Nowadays, honestly, the shows that we see in concerts, it's more about the production. And I just was talking to a young front of house engineer a couple weeks ago, and those were his words. It's more about the production today than ever before, which means more about trying to fit in the dancers, the smoke machines, the video, the lights, the video wall, and a lot of these other things than it is necessarily trying to facilitate the band and make sure we got this and this. And that's, of course, why you use a lot of tracks a lot of time. I think this is indeed music's greatest night, because they call it music's biggest night, because we see a lot of people who are live playing, and I think that's good. That will always kind of be a shot in the arm for our business. But I think our business also has the other sides to it, where we're actually in a place where, you know, when that bell rings and there's an act and the act is funded, it's time for everybody to do what they do. So the bigger you are, the easier it is to take part in that machine. And consequently, the reward is going to be there, because there's all this other activity that's connected with it. You know.
Yeah.
I wish I could say, yeah, man, it's the best always wins. No, sometimes the best don't win. Sometimes the best doesn't win. And you know, it's such a relative thing. What is good anyway? You know, I think that, and if we say it's just the more popular wins, no, you know, whoever wins wins, and we're happy for
it. Yeah,
them.
exactly. There's a lot that goes to it.
Yeah, in the end, music wins. You know, but I think the bigger thing is that to have a career, to be able to be part of the few songs that make it through the selection process and are nominated, that's a really big thing. That's a really big thing. It's nothing to be overlooked. And for all my friends who are engineers and they're up for best engineer or best whatever, they work hard, man. They work hard and they know this stuff, and they're trying to do their best. And so the things that they touch, when I see those categories, I like those because I know those people and I know what they do to know what they know.
Exactly.
So I like that. Now, if I look at things just on the artistry, now there's probably a lot of artists that we have questions about and don't. But that's neither here nor there. I think we know the people of the business.
Yeah.
So we really, when we see a show like this, it's in support of all people who are in this business, making these songs work, making these careers go. It's very real. It's very real. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting too is like I definitely we know what some of the politics are and everything, but it's funny that I still have the basic philosophy, because regardless of whose time it is now, because everybody just has their time and the things line up, because this is such a process. We know a lot of engineers and singers, songwriters, producers, or whatever that are just as good or way better than the people that get the accolades out here, and they never get a shot because certain things, for whatever reason, don't always line up for everybody. I was explaining for me earlier, and that I mentioned to him, the only reason why I have a Grammy is because more so that, I was qualified to do it, but more so that things lined up, because you introduced me to a guy, you say, hey, you need to meet this cat that y'all, I think y'all get along and everything. Y'all got a lot in common and everything. You took me down to meet Dave Isaac. We just clicked on a lot of different areas and everything. He was at a spot where he wanted to step out of engineering and be more of a producer, and he liked what I was doing, so he's like, hey man, you come in and take that slot so I can focus on this. Things just lined up for whatever reason that God had planned and everything. It wasn't that I did some major thing and just knocked down some doors and everything. Things just kind of lined up. So there's a lot of people out here that are in more of a position like me, that if you end up in the right situation with the right people at the right time and all the instances and all the stars align in the perfect thing, then it might happen for you, but it has nothing to do with where your talent is and what you do. I still be the same Khaliq doing the same thing I'm doing, and I'd be just as good because I push myself to be whatever as good as I do, so don't get caught up on the awards and everything.
It's a timing thing. I think it's a magical timing thing, because the other thing is you have to look at it. It's also the artists that you guys are working with. It was the time for them to meet the combination of the result of you guys. But sometimes it's as simple as, for me, when I am in situations, I understand an aspect of people where I see people's skills and talents, or I see what situations lack. And it's not always. Sometimes I'm in situations just to make suggestions. Sometimes I'm not in situations to be the person, but to be the catalyst that gets to the person or the people or whatever. And so I understand that about my opportunities when they come into business. And that's why sometimes I'll go, they seem like they need somebody like this, and they seem like they need somebody like that. It's just different every occasion. But I mean, I do that all the time. But it's just, I just think it's needed. It's just part of what's needed. I mean, we're all students of the people that we've worked with and seen, and when you see producers like Quincy and some of these other guys, and you see the excellence they have in choosing people, right? You study the pattern that they go about making the selection of who's going to participate and why they make the selection, and the end result when the music mixes with the people and the talent. It goes very easy, and I think when you put in time on all those things, you can have some cool music, but if you pick the right combination of people and you're fortunate enough to have some budget that allows you to like get the right combo that you want, I think you can bump into stuff now and then, and that's what happened on that. It was the timing. It was the timing for everything. The timing for a suggestion, the timing for, because I would never have met Marcus or anybody in that situation if Dave hadn't come to L.A., even though I met him years earlier, but they'd come to L.A. and then spend time when we were working over at Babyfaces. So it's just, everything is a progressive thing, and a lot of different jobs came from different situations. So it's not just that one thing, but I think you have to look at the totality of it. You know, you can be in a situation, but all the time you don't always have to have everything that happens be focused around you. And I think in engineering terms, I think a lot of times people always want them to be the focus because it's a highly competitive,
amazing engineering
industry, you know. Yeah, but I think the smart thing is to know when the engineering call is yours and when it seems like somebody else would serve a better role. You know.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
you know, you'd be better off for the
things,
I'll work like this. You know.
Yeah, and see the thing too, man, with all of these things, I try to make people realize, like we were talking, and the people that get these awards and are up for these awards and everything, regardless of what it is, it's their time, you know. So anybody can hate that Macklemore was so successful, and Macklemore may or may not. I don't know. Time will prove it all out. And I mentioned it earlier about Iggy Azalea and a few other people that have that controversial thing. Well, you know, bottom line is still the stuff lined up, and it was their time to have this big splash when it did. You know, there's a lot of other people that are just as good, many out there that may be even better and all that. But the bottom line is, if it ain't their time at that moment, don't worry about it. You know, just worry about your time, keep moving forward, and do what you do. You'll get yours at your time. You know, and I think everybody gets caught up on the wrong stuff, and you know, you can't worry about somebody else. I love in that one movie where we was watching back in the day when they did that movie about Don King and Mike Tyson, and Don King said the line of, you know, don't count another man's money. You know, you can't be worrying about that. You know, when they was talking about how much he was getting for his fights and everything, but he's making, you know, he's making multi-millions on the second thing, and that's the deal that you made. So when you make a deal, you got to stick with it, or when you go on a path, stick with it, and then don't worry about what somebody else does. You know, just keep sticking on what you're trying to do. That's going to be the key to your success, is stay in the path. You know, stay in the course. You know.
Yeah, that's it. No, I think that's it big time. And I think the other thing is we can't be so set in our ways, you know, from this day going forward to assume that everybody who wins a Grammy in a certain category is going to look like a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big assumption. It's just a big assumption, and I think that you know, good songs are good songs. Good songs are good songs. You'd be surprised what will happen, you know, in the near future, because it can't be one way forever and ever. We could continually paint a false picture if that's what it was about. But that false picture would not be a true representation of what really happens. And great songs come from people who look like everything in all categories. So I don't even worry about it being, even if it was a conspiracy at the highest levels, I really wouldn't worry about it, because they have a way of working themselves out. It takes a lot to keep something like that up. And eventually somebody's going to like a song, and they're not going to be able to control every factor about who did it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden it's going to look different, and you're going to say, oh, man, check that out. And then you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But we're in a world right now that is heavily, you know, we're focusing on a lot of things, of the differences and the separation and a lot of the things that are going on right now. So it's very easy to focus on something like that and go, you know, hey, they're doing this because, you know, it is, you know, that's the other big tip, that you do not see a lot of performance talent on some of the shows. You used to, but you don't see it, and that's a big thing that people are mumbling about too. But the bottom line is, that too will change. That too will change. All these things ebb and flow. I mean, at the end of the day, it's music, and I think that's what people need to remember. It's you know, this is the Grammy Awards, and no matter what the genre, they're using the same 12 notes. So, so the cool thing is, if you do music, you know, applaud the fact that music is being focused on. You know, if you can't get into what everybody looks like who's delivering the music, just get into the songs and figure out if there's any songs that you like or whatever, but be glad that what you do is being focused on. I think that's the bigger choice, you know. We could be bitter about a whole bunch of things. and you know, life ain't fair on a lot of levels, but it ain't gonna get straightened out in one afternoon and one show on one stage with everybody singing their songs that they done already gotten paid for, right? So, you know, but yeah,
It's weird. You know what's it's something's weird's going on, Dave. There's a lot of people trying to get in and keep telling me the link that I sent you and you got in with is saying they can't get in with it.
well, I mean, you try and get on with them, and then I'll come on with you guys because I'll be able to.
Well,
So
Dave, do me
get
a
on with
favor.
them, and I'll hang up and get on with you. I'll go on. I'll refire mine.
No, there's nothing wrong. You're already on. That ain't the problem. The thing that's weird is I sent the same link that I sent you to these guys, and they can't seem to get on. So I'm trying to figure it out. Do me a favor, Dave. Send an invite send an invite to Bill. Send an invite to Jason Constantine.
Jason
And
Constant.
then,
Let me look and see if he's on
well,
my
actually, send
thing.
an invite to Neil Hester. I'll send it to Jason Constantine. And then we'll see if I'm gonna send an email to Neil. I mean to Jason.
Can I
Actually,
do a mass one on the left hand side, or I got to do it on the right? Hold on.
you got to go up to the chat and send
Yeah.
send an individual type in their name, and then
Okay,
just
I don't know if I have Neil Hester's.
no. If you type it
So,
in, his name should come up. Just type in Neil space Hester.
right in the track. I'm typing it in the chat. Neil Hester.
No, not in the chat. In the invite box. The box up at the top of the screen where you invite people.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm trying to get to it right now.
Yeah, it's up there. It's right at the top, right next to the it's the little man silhouette with a plus sign on it. It says invite people right next to the microphone icon.
Oh, I don't have that on mine.
No, everybody has that. It's at the top of the window. Just go
No,
up to
I'm looking at mine right now.
go up.
I just
Well,
have
I mean,
yeah.
it usually appears once you move your mouse up there.
Yeah, I'm looking at my thing up there. I only have the microphone, the camera, the volume, the settings.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, it's not allowing you to admin. That's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that would let. Yeah. Okay. Since you're not.
I was gonna say let me go off and then I'm gonna come back on.
Well, if you go off, you might not be able to get back in if it's been acting crazy.
No, I'll be able to get back in because that audio thing was you. That happened.
Okay. All right. Give it a try. All right, guys. And Jason, I'm going to try to just send you a straight email. Stand by, and I'll get it. Okay, guys. This is the what we go through at Hangouts sometimes. So let me get there, and send it to Jason. Jason, I am sending you a email right now. And hopefully you'll get it if you're watching. Hopefully you'll get it. Bill, I don't know if you're on or watching or whatever and you want to get in. Shoot me your email because it seems like the Google thing is not working. So I probably... Okay. All right, I'm going to send...
Okay, I'm back.
You're back. Okay.
Okay, now I have it. For some reason, it's in my window now. So.
Well, now you have it. Okay. Yeah. Send Bill one and
So hold on. Let me see if it'll come up now because I'm clicking it, but it's not bringing anything up.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm gonna send Bill an email then.
It's like a dead icon. It's up, but it won't.
Yeah. Gmail or the Hangout. Something's going on with it today. Something's weird because too many anomalies, and it shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Okay. All right. Sending this out to you now, Bill. So weird. What you think, Dave?
No, I'm just trying this icon. This icon is like frozen. It won't let me.
Is it? It's not letting you do anything?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's. I'm sending Bill. We'll suss that out. At least if we can get some of the basic folks on there, maybe we can figure it out. Okay. So anyway, I just sent him an email. Let me let him know, and then we'll continue on. So Dave, you got any Grammy picks or anything like that?
No, man. I'm cool. You know, I was glad to see Ray Kurzweil get his. I'm glad to see Wayne Shorter get his, and
yeah,
some of those things. And you know, those are biggies for me. The newer ones, you know, it'll be interesting to see who gets it. Who gets it? I'm more excited for the younger producers and people who are involved in the building the songs and the work, because in some of their cases it's their first time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. We got a bunch of guys that we know that are up for Best Engineered Record, you know. Dave Way, I think he's nominated for a Weird Al record, and I think what is it? Hogarth is nominated for another record. Ross Hogarth, he's a engineer. He lives.
Ross. Yeah.
He actually lives around us. So, you know, those kind of things are good. You know, it's you hate to see everybody nominated in one category, but you know, again, the acknowledgement I think is good. You know, but yeah, it's going to be good, and I'm excited to see where it's going. We're coming off of a big front end of NAMM, and you know, all of the CES, NAMM, and then Grammy. Everything is so close now. So we just saw a bunch of new software and other things. I'm going to be interested to see how, you know, after this whole round of Grammy settles down, how the year unfolds with a lot of the new technology we saw in January being introduced as well. It's going to be interesting to see how people's workflow changes, what their focus is. You know, that's always.
You think it's going to change?
I think everything has to change, and I think it's really also about what the focus has to be from this point going on. You know, there are so many programs that are finishing people's work, or at least wrapping stuff up, that you know, you have to start to look at that. And there's so many people that are trying to mix and trying to do these things. You have to look at that and the stuff that's available. I saw so many alternative means of working, control surfaces, and a lot of things that just take into consideration not only the DAW you're working with, but how you're working and how much you do or don't know about music. But all of them were very extensive. They weren't lightweight by any means. So they're helping people to get through the assembly process. And so that means more music. That means just more music, period. So, I mean, it's a good thing, you know. But it's going to be interesting to see the workflow, you know, and again, what becomes popular even towards the middle of the year, you know, because people have to realize that the first part of the year, people are basically waiting for this Grammy process to finish, and then they charge off into the year trying to write, and get everything in before submission periods. in order to participate in the same thing the following year. So, and then as always, I like to see what happens with legacy acts. We have a lot of things that are still going on with legacy acts that are very big and very popular. You got a lot of big people still in the studio. I mean, Elton John, I think, is in the studio right now, over at the Village, and other places. So
yeah,
those things are still huge. You still have people making hit music, and they're not stopping either,
Man, I got to tell you one thing, because I actually kind of stopped following it a little bit. I know it's very relevant, but I'm glad that our boy Elliot won a Grammy for Beyonce's record for surround sound.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I kind of stopped following surround a bit, but those guys that really committed to that and stayed in it and everything, I mean, they're doing some amazing work, man.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, I think that's a part of it too. That needs to be something that still is looked at, and Elliot's done so much work with the automobiles too. With I think Acura he works closely with, and that whole experience of taking your music that one step further, so that when it's presented, it's coming from someplace. I think that's good, man. You need that. Yeah, so that's always good. I like to see those. And then there were a couple others. They had the pre-Grammy awards yesterday, and some special awards of merit and stuff. I didn't make it to the thing with Bob Dylan, but I read about I read his whole transcript. We had the P&E function the other night, and that was good. That was honoring Nile Rodgers, so that was real good.
I tell you what, I was glad to see 20 Feet from Stardom won a Grammy too.
Yeah.
That was real cool. I love that. That was a great movie, and I'm glad for my girl Lisa Fisher and Darby and Mary and all of them.
Yeah, to get their props. Yeah. Hey, Jason, what's up?
Yeah. Okay, we got you on. Thank goodness, man.
I'll be on in a minute, guys. I'm on a call right now.
Okay, man. Yeah, that was a trip. Yeah, I have no idea why the invites weren't going out through Google, but
it's probably crowded. The show is going on right now.
You see it now?
No, people with East Coast feed will probably see it, but the show.
Oh, you're talking about the Grammys, yeah, right.
Yeah, the actual Grammy show has probably started right about now.
It is on, yeah.
Probably
a few people messaged me and said they're watching it now.
Yeah, but the so it's gonna increase the line's usage right now on a lot of stuff. You got people with their phones up streaming and doing everything else. So.
Yeah. I'm trying to look for. You got any predictions on record of the year, man?
No, man. Your guess is as good as mine. I think it's hard to say. It's hard to say because there have been times where we thought, oh yeah, this hands down gonna win. I don't know. Who do you think?
I actually think Sam Smith is gonna get it for the rest of the year. Yeah, I do. Either Sam Smith. I just think that was an amazing record, man.
Yeah.
Rodney Jerkins' version is I just think that there was just something about that. It was just.
You think it's big enough?
Yeah, I do. I mean, just something about that. That's really kind of what kicked his whole thing off too. You got to remember this guy was literally unknown less than a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Some of the other ones, like the Taylor Swift's, Shake It Off is huge and all that, but I don't know if that would be record of the year. The numbers would suggest it. I mean, I was talking about it earlier before you got on. It's like that's one of them shows that even some rappers and people like that, hip hop, it was like, man, I can't get that song out of my head. What is, when you just got to admit a song is so catchy, it goes ridiculous. But I don't know
Yeah.
about record of the year. I don't know. You know, to me, it's
Well,
like it's a
yeah,
hit
I think
record,
her,
but go ahead.
her career is very, it's very interesting when you kind of follow her because she entered quasi through the country door and then beeline straight to pop.
Yeah, you know, she's very talented. You know, ain't no
Yeah,
doubt.
no, I don't doubt she's talented, but I just think that's the part of our business where you can watch the calculated part, and you watch that's the business side of the business, shifting gears and putting people in the right position so that they get that light, you know, and it's good. I mean, the album is very good. The heavy
Yeah, the
marketing,
album's
nice
very
pack.
good.
I
She
mean,
knows what
there's
she's
so
doing.
much.
Very talented. You
Yeah,
know. I
yeah.
also like Sia as well, but I don't think that was quite big enough. And like I said, you know, Iggy Azalea had a great year this year, but I don't know if I'd call that record of the year. Just my own opinion, you know.
Yeah, I think that's. She probably would have had a better chance last year.
Yeah, you know, it's popular and everything, and you know, but I think Sam Smith, you know, just his whole thing, man. I think that he might get record of the year and best new artist as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. We'll see as it goes on, but that's, you know, that it just resonated when I first heard him and heard this stuff. I was like, there's something very, very different about this cat. And then listen to his tones and phrasing and just the feeling. I mean, you know, it's like, man, I haven't heard this type of singer in a long while, you know.
Oh yeah.
He does the same thing to me emotionally as far as when I listen to how he sings and how he turns phrases is the same stuff like Jeffrey used to do and explain to me why he was doing it and how he would get in and everything. And Luther and all those guys like that, it's something that's natural, but at the same time, they know what they have to do to get to it. So, you
Hey,
know.
Bill just sent a thing saying you sent the wrong link.
Say
Bill
that again?
Bill just sent a message saying you sent the wrong link.
The wrong link. That's the link that was there. Let me. You want to try and send it to him? That was to his email. Yeah, I just copied it out of here and sent it. Let me try it one more time. Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's just something going on. Something going on here, but I'm gonna send it to him again one more time. So strange. These Hangouts every now and then they go crazy, or I don't know whether it's my system or what.
Nah, they keep changing stuff, man, like crazy.
Yeah, they keep changing stuff all the time. That's what I thought. Because I'm like, you know, I'm doing the same thing I do all the time, and usually I just send an invite from up top. And right now nobody got the invites, you know, so that's why I went on because nobody. I sent it a half hour ago. Let me send it to them. What's going on with you, Jason? How you doing, man?
Good, guys, again. I've just been so damn busy.
Busy's good, brother. Busy is good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's more playing right now than recording, but it's cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So, what we were, you know, you hear our subject today is the Grammys, and you know what's going on with it. Maybe some predictions and any other little stuff going on. You got any? You want to chime in on anything?
I don't know really. I mean, I like. I mean, I don't know. It's the Grammys is a weird thing for me. because you know I'm a hard rock heavy metal guy, you know, and I don't know. It's just the whole portrayal of the hard rock heavy metal thing in the Grammys is kind of weird for me. I mean, to me it goes back to '90 when Jethro Tull won like best heavy metal. Like,
Yeah.
Jethro Tull is not a heavy metal band.
Yeah. Like who is yeah, right. Well, the funny thing, you know, that's interesting because I mean these things are voted on by, you know, the peers. So it's like, how do people get that wrong? You know.
For me, I think really what it was is, you know, I mean, there's no doubt that, like, you know, pop music dominates the Grammys. I mean, and it's always been like that, which there's nothing wrong with. But at the same time, I mean, these pop guys aren't listening to Metallica and Pantera and Slay. They're not listening to those bands, you know. That's not what they're into.
So true, yeah.
Right.
You know, plus the participation in the academy, you know, NARIS and all that. You know, there's certain areas that are more people are in it, and then other people never participate. You know. So that's when it comes voting time. That's how it gets skewed.
Yeah, the hard rock and the heavy metal guys think, you know, well, the Grammys aren't cool, so we're not going to vote.
Yeah, that's a big part. You know, I'm gonna try something else. Let me go to my Google Plus page and see if I can get people on here, because it's so weird. I've sent Bill like 3 links and he's still not getting in. Weird. Okay. So when I sent you the email, though, did you have any problem with it?
No, once I got the email, I just clicked on the link and it brought me right in.
See, that's so weird. Dave got right in, you got right in, but I sent the same link to Bill, and Bill didn't get in. Same thing with Neil. Neil hasn't been able to get in. Let's see. Let me see. Let me send Bill a message.
Hey, Jason, I got a question. Why do you think most heavy metal guys feel like that? Like, not even concerning themselves with it? Do you think it's because of sometimes how heavy metal has been not viewed but focused on by the Grammys?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, even the representation and things like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and stuff like, which we can always they're not tied together or anything, but you know, I really think a lot of the I know a lot of the heavy metal guys just feel like, you know, we almost feel like we're not part of the same industry, you know, because we're always like, for years we were just like, you know, brushed off to the side, you know. Then there was a whole thing in the 80s with the PMRC and the demetalization of children and all this stuff, you know. It's just
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's got all that, and plus metal's it's anti-establishment. I mean, that's the whole thing, is the evolution of punk, you know, just anti-establishment. Anything that's established and part of the norm, you shouldn't be part of because it's not cool, you know.
Right.
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, you know, I can understand that. I've seen the same thing in other things where it's not really the focus, and mainly because, you know, it's an accepted fact that we're in a race that's fixed, and they're not going to pay attention to everything. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. No, I get it. You know, I think that's the part where I can't fault them for how they feel, because you know, everybody likes to be included. Everybody likes to know that what they're doing counts. And, you know, especially in some of those other genres, you know, and we deal with it now too a lot because of some of the changes that have gone on in the blues categories and some of the other stuff, because we know so much of what is rock and roll is derivative of the blues. So when you eliminate the focus on the blues, you eliminate a true tie to what is really at the basis of much of rock and roll. And you can't help but getting into the argument of, well, what kind of picture are they trying to paint? You know, how do you paint a picture of what music used to be for the new young person studying music if you don't have a rock and roll conversation that starts with the blues?
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of hard. But there are people who would contend, and they would start that conversation, and they wouldn't be nowhere near the blues. So, I mean, that's a reality too. So, you know, I see where some of these feelings come about, you know, and I think that's a real thing when you know, so much of the past activity in music is now looked at and set up to be, you know, kind of promenaded around as educational material. But then nobody is validating the educational material, saying, yeah, that's true, this is good, this is a good place to start from. If everybody just comes up and starts regurgitating, but they don't tie it to the original, you might never know the truth.
I mean, a good the way I'm looking at it, another way I look at it is there's really no music history that people get taught. You know, like the whole Kanye thing. Oh, look at this unknown guy, Paul McCartney, blah 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 blah. You know, that whole argument.
Right.
That blew my mind. How do you not know who Paul McCartney is? I mean, the Beatles, come on.
But you know what? Yeah, but you don't know who Paul McCartney is because we are at a time where any minor who is coming up now is so preoccupied with apps and gadgets and things like that they and we don't reinforce, especially here in Western society, we don't reinforce education of music in the schools. So let alone not knowing who a Beatles was, and see how that is. We look at it and go, how do you not know who one of the Beatles was, right? But then again, they wouldn't know who one of the Beatles was, and he's not even as old as some of the blues people that the Beatles listened to. You get it? You get it? So now we have this second and third version of revisionist history based on you know, the scattered data effect. You know, it's like some people know this data, some people know that data. Now granted, it would be great if we had some way to notate it and have everybody know, but I think there will be some good things that actually come when we listen to the next young kids who don't know who anybody is, and they're just trying to make their mark. There's a certain amount of freedom that comes from ignorance. And as crazy as that might sound, it will probably be good for some of the next people who create not to have their mind polluted with the many choices that have come before on the use of the 12 notes, right? Because there's so much music that has occurred that, wow, you're bound to hear something again. Look, if I can think back to the people I've worked with, and I hear classical moves that they do, and I hear other stuff that they do, and I go, okay, they're pulling from that. You best believe a young person coming up now, fully educated in music and music history, is going to be pulling from all that as well. And so it's going to be good to kind of have some people who are coming from some other places. So shoot, when Kanye came along, he was coming from, when he wasn't anybody, he was coming from a place where he was trying to be something. And I think that's a creative place, whether we like what he's saying or not. There's a bunch of people who make music, and we might not agree with the lyrical content or whatever, but they're coming from some place where they're inspired and they feel like what they're doing is getting them close to what's inside of them. And that's the energy that I think you want to feel when you listen to their music. Whether or not somebody knows the Beatles, I knew that time was going to come. A lot of us knew that time was going to come. You know, just because you have the iPod as technology, as a musical reference and library, doesn't mean that everybody who has an iPod is going to have an extensive catalog full of all the music that might be in a time capsule in space somewhere, you know, that somebody else chose. I think the other thing is that when you have all these automated things at your fingertips, they're all designed around lifestyle and choice. The choice of the Beatles as grand, omnipotent musical reference knowledge is one that everybody isn't going to make. You know, if I was from a tribe and I had never seen civilization and all I knew was my cousin who had the log band around across the river, okay, and I might just be hot on the log band across the river. I don't want to hear nothing about the Beatles, Metallica. I could care less about Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters. I want to hear my cousin who plays logs across the river because he's the shit to me, right? And it sounds extreme, but this is kind of how it is now. Everybody has their own little way to personally define their listening space and what goes on, and I think is very impactful when you look at it as far as how are we going to educate on listening and just music history and music appreciation, especially in this country when it's not reinforced in the schools. And I don't know how it is over there with some of you guys that live outside the U.S., but it's a real important thing of how are we going to do this. It has to happen inside our homes. that's the only place it can happen, inside our homes. It means we got to take the time to do it. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. But I think I mean, there's even other things with this. I think it ties into too. I mean, do you like the whole Sam Smith copyright infringement thing that's going down?
Oh,
you think
yeah.
Sam Smith actually ever heard that damn song in his life? Absolutely not. He never heard it. He wrote a song and happened to be the same thing, and he got banged for it. I mean, it happens. You know, I'm sure he's not a Tom Petty fan, even though it was, you know, that was a massive hit for Tom Petty. But I don't think Sam probably ever listened to it. Same with Coldplay with the Joe Satriani thing. I was a Joe Satriani fan. I knew the song. I'm a guitar player. You know, Coldplay ever went and bought a Joe Satriani CD? I highly doubt it.
Right.
You know, most of the music licks and ways you can combine notes have been done before, so there's nothing new going to be under the sun, pretty much. You know.
I know 500 bands that have used the Chuck Berry lick. Come on, everybody has done it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's kind of par for the course now. Man.
It is.
What does everybody think about you know, where things are, and especially you, Jason, because you mentioned about how you know, how metal's being represented or not represented or whatever, but yet don't they have hey man, they got AC/DC performing tonight.
Yeah, I mean that's a great thing, but still, AC/DC is more of a rock and roll band. You know, I mean, you're never gonna see a band like Opeth or Testament, or, you know, all these really, really heavy, or even like, you know, the Swedish and the Norwegian metal bands that are real dark with the face paint and all that. You'll never see that stuff in the Grammys. And these guys bitch about it, yet at the same time, they're not joining the organizations. They're not putting in their votes. So how do you expect to be represented if you're not going to voice your opinion?
Right,
but that's a huge point.
The other thing is that, you know, and this is also the fault of what the body politic. If every time you need to have a reference of something, you use a 20-year-old reference, and nothing against AC/DC, but let's be real, there are other younger bands that are out there doing things in the world in that same genre, in that same lane, that why can't you put them up? Because they've sold the records, they've toured the places they play, and they got followings. Why can't we promote them? And that's the same thing I'm saying, is that we keep painting this image of what we say is the shit every time this broadcast comes along. And it's very hard to convince a world who is doing music all at one time that, and everybody is probably AC/DC fans, but honestly, do you want to see them again, or have you seen them enough? Would you like to see somebody else?
Gotta be
nothing against AC/DC. Don't all the AC/DC people write in, but they're working tonight, so what the hell? It would be really nice to see other people in other places who were inspired by them and have gone on to build careers and followings and find out who the next AC/DC is. I'm ready for that page. I've been ready for that page. Same thing with Metallica. Sorry for all the Metallica people. I'm not saying hanging up Metallica. It's saying share the fucking wealth. Okay?
Absolutely, 100%. But there's another aspect to it, too. I mean, you know, the Grammys. It's going to be on television. What are you going to do to draw people in to watch? So you grab a classic band like AC/DC that's got a massive following all over the world. Yeah. What are they going to do? They're going to sell commercials. They're going to make their money, and they got AC/DC. I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Cut the deal.
It's like this whole thing. Metallica's going to play the Super Bowl next year. You know, I mean, I'm cool with that. You know, I thought the whole Katy Perry thing this year was kind of a fiasco. The Missy Elliott thing was cool, and Lenny Kravitz was cool, but I'm not a Katy Perry fan. I'm sorry. I don't know what she has to do with football or anything at all. You know, I have no idea, but you know, it gets people to tune in. You know, it's the whole deal. You know, people tune in. You know, it's marketing. That's all it is.
Hey man, there's no profit without promotion.
Absolutely. In a perfect world, you know, things like that wouldn't happen. You know, marketing wouldn't dictate everything that goes on with everything in the world. Good music would shine. Great music would shine. I mean, not that it doesn't, but I mean that whole genre. That's just like, you know, promotion, 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 and marketing, and marketing, and marketing, and marketing, and marketing, and they just throw it in your face, throw it in your face, throw it in your face, and there's no way to avoid it. So what happens? It becomes part of popular culture.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
AC/DC.
what is the world's oldest profession?
Prostitution.
Being a hooker, prostitution.
Well, it seems like that, but wrong. The world's oldest profession is marketing, because somebody had to sell that prostitute.
That's
That
true.
is true. All right, I'll give you that.
Very wise, Khaliq. Very wise. Obviously, our heads are in
What
the
does this
gutter.
have to do with music or football?
None of it does. I mean, even the commercials, man. I mean, what is this? Oh my God! I'm watching the Super Bowl, getting depressed. What the hell is up with this? But again, marketing, marketing, marketing. You got the money, you know, you're gonna be popular.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, one thing that wasn't marketed, that it was a great game. You know, marketing had nothing to do with that.
All I've
game
seen the
was
last
off the hook.
5 years, man. That was great.
Oh man, unbelievable. You know? So yeah, what's up? We got Maresh on here. How you doing, man? Going on down under.
How you guys doing?
All right,
Doing
man.
all
What's
right.
up?
Oh, not much. Just catching up on some Grammys. I don't get here on telly. I'm just watching from online streaming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
cool.
want to see. I'm not that really interested in who wins what or whatever, but I just want to see the whole.
You come on here to do a spoiler alert.
Sorry.
You come on to do a spoiler alert.
Yeah, you want me to do it?
Hey, you know we don't care.
Yeah. But I'm coming across these. Kanye West did a collab with Paul McCartney, and a lot of young people saying, "Hey, this guy must be getting, the Paul McCartney guy must be getting big now, because he's working with Kanye." And that sort of thing. That sort of things are floating around on social media, and it's just like, is this really serious? Like, people really like, and that's why I was listening to Dave talking about AC/DC playing at Grammys. There could be really young people who don't know what AC/DC is, you know?
Oh yeah.
And they'll be like,
Most people don't, believe it or not, at this stage. There's a lot of people that don't. I'd venture to say it's over 50%.
Yeah, I just think we're at a time where everything is timing out for a changeover, right? And what happens is that it's going to take some people who are really rebellious to stop doing what's expected and do something new, which is, let's have some people on who nobody's seen. Let's have some people on who are doing the work just as much, but they're the next thing coming along. Because we can't continually just sit on people till they're old and decrepit and fall away. It's like, yeah, then mostly all the genres, they turn into legacy acts, right?
But But here's the question, Dave. Who is that though? Because, quite frankly, to be honest with you, we've seen the trend of the disposable artists, you know, and the ones that are making it, that have been the staples, unfortunately, this is how you get old, is when you really know your stuff and you keep coming back around. I mean, I saw their seating arrangement, and in the front row, you know, of course, they got Prince on there. And I've recently heard many times, who is Prince? You know, I can't imagine that, but there's like a whole generation of folks that don't even have a clue.
Yeah.
You know, so who is that coming up now on this next wave that, you know, it has to come. We're all going to die. Don't none of us get out of here alive. So,
well, I think
the
it's
next
somebody
wave needs to-
different. I think it's somebody different in each region, but we, you know, there are people and communities now with the internet who follow, in particular, the heavy metal genre and all these other different factions of metal, and there are real people who are contenders to you know, having regional popularity in more than just one place. There are people who are doing well, and nobody has heard of them because everybody bows out and say, "Oh well, just get AC/DC," and then that fills the slot. In other words, that quick thinking of always just doing that, eventually that gets tired, and it's like, well, let's get somebody new in there. And unfortunately, I think because Western music business culture drives a lot of the selection process, we have that same outlook, and when these things get set up to be put in front of everybody and televised. You know, I wish there was a way we had a true world stage where you could have everybody decide who they wanted to see via worldwide internet vote, right?
Well, actually, Dave, here's what's interesting to me, because a vacuum always needs to be filled. You know, something got to get sucked into it. So it's like the cream rises to the top a lot of times with some of these new things. Like, take for example the phenomenon of dirty loops. When we was at NAMM, you see, I mean, it was bonkers and crazy up there. It's like these folks ain't even American or anything like that, but they're just good, they're different, they're unique, and a vacuum needed to be filled, and they swooped right in. They got sucked in. There's a lot of good people out here, you know, but being good is not being evergreen. There's a big difference in that. And I'm wondering who are the ones. That's why they keep pulling out the AC/DCs and the Aerosmiths and all the other ones, is because there's got to be that one little differentiating factor that goes beyond, well, there's a lot of good people out here, a lot of people making some noise and everything, but people need to learn whatever that magic skill is to make you separate from this whole growing pack out here of a lot of good folks now. That ain't good enough anymore. And I'm wondering who's going to come in and rise up out of there now. There's little hints of folks popping up, but there's really not a lot, you know. I'm curious of who's going to be on that next wave that's really just going to pop out. You know, I think you got to be better than just good.
They're going to have to have a plan and a hookup to pop out too, because like I said, everything is always thought of in terms of, well, we'll drive it like this, and nobody's really thinking of. And I'm not talking about shows like, you know, Idol and all this other stuff. I'm talking about just mainstream entertainment factions that put together these shows that give you a true look at who's trending in the world and who's holding it up there. Because AC/DC ain't doing all the gigs. There's some, you know, if we ask you to name 3 other groups underneath AC/DC in popularity in the same genre, everybody from every different part of the world is going to name somebody. And
but you know what's interesting? What's happening too? Here, check this out. What's happening? And I'm going to have this guy on one day. There was a guy that was talking about the cycle of times that they've proven out in music in particular, where they've been doing studies over the last few decades. And there's cycles that happen. And right now we're in a cycle where the 70s is back. And we're seeing it in all the music right now, all the trends that are happening, all these bands that are making through. You listen to the groups that have made it through, you know, the record that's at the top right now, you know, Uptown Funk. That ain't nothing but a retread of 70s and everything like that. Meghan Trainor, you know, all of these, there's a whole big cycle right now, and if you want to be ahead of it, you actually, the cycle is based on a 40-year cycle, what they've seen in music. You know, it starts reaching its pinnacle in 40 years. And if you simply go back in time to what was happening 40 years ago and recreate that for what's going on now, you will be ahead of the game of most people that ain't paying attention. They've actually proven it out and done studies, seen who won the Grammys, all of that. I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna do that.
Gonna put a run on the almanac now.
I think 40s. Way too big of a number.
You want to know what's coming? You got to study what was. You know. If you want
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But I think 40 is way too big of a swing. I firmly believe it's in like 20-year cycles. I mean, if you look at the 70s and then you look at the 90s, okay, you had all that vintage, martially, you know, even sound-wise, you know, it was just all raw and real. The 80s came in, brought in all the big delays and the sampling and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And then you got to the 90s, and all the bands are like, well, screw this. Because now we're in our 20s, and we're the ones writing the music. And when we were kids, this is what we were listening to. We were listening to stuff from 20 years ago. You know, it's just I firmly believe it's like every 2025 instead of 40. I think 40 is way too big of a number.
Well, you're actually correct, Jason. It actually starts in a 20-year, but the pinnacle reaches over 40 years. The new cycle starts after 20 years in the beginning part. So you have people that start on the bottom and they're the early adopters. That's what happens, and it's a 20-year cycle. Then it starts rising up, and by the time it gets to the 40-year cycle, this is where it becomes common into the cycle, and then it starts on the downward slope again into something new. But I'm going to do this thing to show you because it's pretty amazing. They analyzed the Grammys, they analyzed the charts, they analyzed all the artists that made it through and found out the record sales and everything. And I mean, it was mathematically proven, and nobody could guess this. And it's like, okay, I think it'll be real interesting for you guys to see this. So I'm going to have this guy come on one of our shows.
I firmly agree with it. I think that's definitely a part of it. It's just a generational thing, you know. I mean, you look at even today. I mean, you look at so many of the bands that are influenced by the stuff from the '70s. I mean, you got like Blackberry Smoke and Black Stone Cherry, you know, in the rock genre, all of those guys. And who's the other one that? Damn it! There's another one that like full on just like '70s band. I can't think of the name of them. Hold on, I got to look at my record collection. Hold on.
Yeah, but I get it, man. It's amazing to see all this. So it's like it's an interesting phenomenon. But whoever's going to stick out now, because people are getting, you know, good is the average now. So to stand out, you really have to do something. And somebody mentioned it earlier. And when we talk about all these licks and people coming up with things and getting sued because you think they may have stolen or plagiarized a song. Well, really, a lot of the times most of the original ideas have been gone and used and retreaded a million times. So, how they're going to stand out from the crowd that's a huge challenge, and I'm wondering who it's going to be and who's going to be evergreen. Like I said, year after year, they keep coming back. That's why you got to still have respect for, somebody that started out. Beyonce could have been a trend, but she has proven to be evergreen, you know, because I think a big part of it is not that she's this great singer or not that she's this great entertainer or any one thing. I think it's because of all of those things, you know, and she does her studying in history. She puts in the work. A lot of other people that still do it and keep going, you know. Christina Aguilera is nominated again this year after all this thing, and people were hating on her big time. She went through her pinnacle, won all the stuff, then people went through the haterades like they always do for anybody that's at the top. But then these people keep coming back. Barbara Streisand is even on there now, you know, back, you know. Like I said, you know, mention Uptown Funk, that ain't nothing but Prince, you know, coming back, you know, and his stuff is, you know, I mean, so it's amazing to see the ones that are going to be evergreen have to kick it up to a whole new level so that it lasts throughout these decades. Have you run across anybody on here run across anybody that they think could fill that void? Vacuums want to be filled. I can't say there's too many.
What genre? In metal?
Anything.
I mean, I think in the metal genre, I'm in the kind of same background as Jason, I guess, and that's, you know, my field of knowledge. So again, I have the same kind of thoughts as Jason about the Grammys in general. But I think there's, you know, you guys, it's interesting you guys talking about the AC/DC thing, because I think they're put up there because they're a surefire bet, you know. So there's a decent amount of people that are going to like them, so the bookers are going to cash in and they'll have done their job. It's a risky business putting somebody up there that they don't know are going to click with people who don't know who they are, which is dangerous and risky for a booker. But there are bands that are, and have been for well over 10 years, probably 15 years. There are a lot of bands that have been doing very well, but are behind bands like AC/DC, Metallica, etc., because those guys are still there in the top slot. They haven't moved over to let these guys in. And I'm talking bands like, say, Machine Head, for example. They're huge in Europe and the UK. From what I understand, they're not as huge in the States. Maybe they've got bigger now, but I think
Who was
they were
that? Mention their name again.
Machine Head.
Oh, Machine Head, right.
Yeah, so I think they've always been big, but maybe they've not been as big in the States as they are in the UK. Like they sell huge shows in the UK and Europe. So go, Jason.
500-seat clubs.
Right. Yeah. See, and it's it's arenas here in the UK and around Europe. So they're big. They'll do big shows. There's other bands kind of along with those. Lamb of God, for example, another perhaps a small venue filler in the States, but huge over here. And then we've got like European bands like, I don't know, you might be going a bit off track for some of you guys. There's a band called Rammstein who are from Germany. They are huge in Europe, absolutely huge. They sing in German. It's not even in English, but they are massive around Europe and the UK. These are all bands that do very, very big shows, and something we do in Europe and the UK very well, I think, are big festivals. Like you guys have things like Coachella and big things like that. Most of our festivals, to start with, used to be heavy rock and metal based. We'd have things like, I don't know if you've heard of like Donington. So that's like AC/DC were famous for playing big shows at Donington, Iron Maiden, all these big guys. But now we have them every year. There's the Download Festival that happens at Donington. There's another one called Sonisphere. There's another one called Bloodstock, which is a bit smaller. But in Europe, and that's just the UK, in Europe, there's huge festivals, and these are our big arena shows. And there's about 80, no, I don't know, maybe about 50 bands on these shows, but they're 80,000 people kind of events. So there's a lot of these bands that play those kind of shows that are the ones that are stepping in place, I think. So you have the headliners like the guys like AC/DC, Iron Maiden, etc. But it's the guys that are on second to top on the slots, and maybe a little bit lower down. These are the guys that they're there and waiting. They're waiting for the big boys to move out of the way. Some of the big bands are getting old. Black Sabbath, for example, they're still going, but they're getting to that point where, but they're cashing in, and a lot of these big bands from maybe the 60s and 70s are coming back because they run out of money as well. They're doing it again. They're going around again. But I think there's and like you guys were saying, there's no shortage of bands queuing up. I just think that the bookers need to give them a break. I mean, they don't need a break. They're making, well, they're not even necessarily making a lot of money, but they're making it a lot of fans. They're making a lot of fans, and that's what counts. I think a certain amount of it is sort of give them a break, but they're surefire winners. All these bands that everybody's heard of. It's a different thing,
Hey man, let me ask a question for you guys. Should the Grammys be replaced for genres like metal and stuff like that? Should there be another alternative? Is there another alternative on the horizon? Do you think it'll ever happen?
There are award shows.
Yeah, there are award shows that happen in the metal community. I mean, who is it that puts on the? Oh God, what is it called now? There's the
Revolver.
Oh, yeah, the Revolver Golden Gods Awards. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have the same thing in the UK. Metal Hammer Magazine, Golden Gods. Yeah.
And that's like the big thing for, and it's not even really rock. It's heavy metal. I mean, we're talking
modern heavy metal,
like Machine Head, Motorhead, Arch Enemy, Carcass. Those are the guys that really get noticed when it comes to award shows like that. I don't think the Grammys should be replaced. I really just think what needs to happen is there's so much music out there nowadays that kind of crosses genre. I think the genres that they have in the Grammys need to be re-looked at again. They need to change things up a little bit, because when you have bands like AC, being billed for best like heavy metal, they're more a hard rock band than a heavy metal band. You know, when I think of heavy metal, you know, nowadays in the U.S., the bands that really come to mind when you think of heavy metal are Slipknot, Lamb of God, Hell Yeah. Those are the metal bands. Then you have the hard rock bands that's like the AC/DC. I mean, I think the new AC/DC that's on the scene right now is probably Hailstorm. They're probably the closest to that just AC/DC basic rock and roll. But, you know, they're getting noticed. Great band. You know, amazing female lead vocalist. That always helps. You know, and I really think they're the next one to take up that AC/DC torch and get the big push and become the new arena rock band in the U.S.
Yeah, I think the award shows just need fair representation from people that actually know what they're talking about. I have a feeling that some of the representatives, their last point of reference maybe was 20 years ago. I think, you know, some people that are up to date and know what they're talking about maybe needed to get in on the kind of the organization, I guess.
I have to ask Neil, since he doesn't have text chat, you were talking about Sabbath earlier. Did you listen to 13? That is a strong album, top to bottom.
It's good, but it's not classic, you know.
Compared to what? Compared to classic Sabbath? Or compared to music now?
I don't think so. I don't know. I think there's a certain expectation to have classic Sabbath. It certainly stands up to music now, definitely, don't get me wrong. But I think when almost everything else they've done has that classic Sabbath sound, you kind of expect more of that, I guess. And so you can't blame them for going kind of ultra modern. They haven't even gone ultra modern. It sounds more modern, sounds more well polished, I guess. But I think there's an expectation for it to sound like it used to, which is maybe a bad thing on the listener's part, maybe on my part.
Well, and I'm going to say this, and Neil, I hope you agree. Us metal guys, we're kind of elitist snobs when it comes to the music that we listen to. You know, when we hear Iron Maiden, you know, we want to hear that all day long. That's all we want to hear, that gallop. You know, with Sabbath, it was Iommi doing two completely different guitar solos, panned left and right. You know, just that whole trippy nature of it. You know, and when you sit down with a guy like Rick Rubin, you know, to produce your record, you're not going to get that. You know, it was definitely a more modern take on Sabbath. As far as the album is concerned, again, like you said, I think it's a good modern record for Sabbath, for what Sabbath is now. But for me, it definitely does not stand up to like Paranoid or any of those old classics. I mean, Paranoid is my favorite Sabbath album of all time. You know, I mean, you go back. There's not a single riff on the new record that gave me the chills like the first time you heard bum bum bum. Oh, the tritone in Black Sabbath, the minute you hear it, it's just, it doesn't have that impact anymore. Yeah. You know, and I think I think it's just part of the evolution. You know, they wanted to do something modern that was relevant, that sounded relevant, to try and get new fans, and ultimately, I mean, they've made their money, but they want to make money. You know, so you got to kind of go that route.
So now I have to ask Jason, did you hear 13 on vinyl like you heard all those old Sabbath albums, or did you hear it on digital?
No, absolutely heard it on vinyl. You know, I make a conscious effort. You know, I've always been a big guy with vinyl. Always. You know, I've always loved it. But yeah, I mean, sonically, and it's a great record. It's well produced. It sounds amazing. It's not that. There's this energy from the band that's not there in the new record. You know, right. I think music in general for me is that right now. There's an energy that's really missing. Like another great example is the last Slipknot record. The latest Slipknot record, I don't think is anywhere near as good as like Subliminal Verses. Subliminal Verses for me was just this heavy, guttural, primal sounding record. There was just this rawness to it and emotion that was behind it. And I've been saying it for years. I just think it's starting to get sucked out of music. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's causing it. I don't think it's lack of passion on the musician's part. Just think that's part of the sound of.
You think it's the production?
Yeah, I think it's just the sound of modern production. You know, and production's always evolving. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't hear anything really primal, raw, and guttural now. That's just, really. Well, I shouldn't say that because Delta Ray. Okay, I'll give them credit for that. Delta Ray's I'm huge on, but yeah, unless it's in like that almost that folky kind of music nowadays, I don't want to say music is soulless, but it's just got this kind of like soulless feel to it. It's not that it's robotic or it's because it's not being played by real musicians. I don't think that has anything to do with it, because if you listen to old Madonna shit with the samples and all that stuff, I mean, that shit had emotion for days. But I don't know, there's just something about modern production, that visceral, raw realness of music.
Is it stripping out the little inconsistencies and idiosyncrasies that make the life of what humans are? Because I just kind of I know what you're saying there, and I think it's kind of across the board. We sometimes don't recognize, when I say we, I'm just talking about as a general music community. Sometimes we don't appreciate that it's okay to leave some humanity in the music, not necessarily make everything so darn perfect all the time, I think it strips a little something out of, when I go back and listen to old stuff, I'm moved. I can listen to new stuff that's recorded well, mixed well, and sounds great, hit records, whatever, but I really get moved when I listen back to stuff that seemed to be a little less perfect, but just felt a lot more alive to me. I don't know what it is,
I'm certainly getting tired of ultra modern, polished production, especially in heavy music. It's, for me, I haven't listened to much recent heavy music, to be honest. I used to be the biggest metal fan ever, and now I've really gone off it because the music does just sound like the same, and from the production point of view, it's ultra clean, and the timing is ultra sharp that it's almost robotically boring. Whereas good old-fashioned kind of what you might listen to in a bar, a bar band kind of sound, like garage band kind of thing, that's more interesting. It's more raw. It's more, you can relate to it. It's I think there's an element of that. I certainly got bored of ultra clean production in guitar-based music. I do like ultra clean production in electronic music, so it's a different thing. I think ultra clean production can sound great anyway, but it's got to be well executed, not just clean, not just tight. It's got to I don't know, you've got to be good at it, and it's got to fit for the purpose, I guess.
But do you guys feel like this is even something that's sustainable over the human life cycle? I mean, you take Metallica, they go from eating bologna sandwiches and sleeping on the floor in the music building in Queens, which is decrepit, and then, a bunch of years later, they've got a bunch of shopping bags on Fifth Avenue. Can you really... Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's part of their process. Yeah.
I was going to mention the evolution of Metallica, actually, because they're a good example. From what we were talking about before about bands not sounding the same throughout their career. Metallica have been one of the bands that have suffered the most, in the sense that they were on quite a steep climb up until the Black Album, which was their ultra commercial album, and then after that, they've done several albums after that, and that none of them have really done very well. And the biggest hype that I think the one has done since then was the Rick Rubin produced one, and that was because it was mastered so badly that it was that it was distorted, and so that again is I think they always claim that they try and do whatever they want to do. They claim they never want to try and pander to the to what people want to hear, and that's why they keep trying to reinvent themselves. Whereas really, all that anyone wants to hear is maybe the first 3 albums. And if you notice when they play live, mostly what they play is the first 3 albums, because they know that's what people want to hear, and they want to give people a good show, and they make a lot of money from their shows. They are constantly touring. So it's if they want to draw the crowds, they know what to do. But in the studio, they'll. But yeah, I think that finding the fame maybe makes them lose touch with what they were doing as teenagers. Because, like Bill says, you know, they were sleeping on the floor and, you know, eating out of trash cans, whatever, you know. And now, you know, they're so rich that they sleep on beds made of money, and you know.
Well, the way I look at it is you're a product of your influence. You know, I mean, that's where you come from. I mean, that old aggression was, you know, eating bologna sandwiches in the music building in Queens that didn't have hot water. You know, I mean, that's a big part of it. You're a product of the element that you're in. Now they have all this money and it's cush and you're living in mansions. I mean, what do you have to be angry about anymore? Why are you can't make that same music anymore? You don't have the same outlook on the world. You know, Metallica, it's not the world's out to get you anymore. It's Metallica's now, I own the world.
Yes,
you know, so I mean, they dictate now what happens in their world. Where in the old days they didn't. They were just a product of their environment. You know, I think that's a very, very big part of it. You know, the world is a very different place than it was, you know, 30 years ago when Metallica put out their first record. You know, I mean, 30 years ago we were coming off the cusp of Vietnam, you know, and all this other stuff that was going on. You know, there was all this turmoil in the world. I mean, not to say that there's not stuff like that going on now, but it much less influences us in America than it was then. You know, so the music being somewhat less.
Like Sabbath, War Pigs. That's a great example.
You know, I mean, that was a whole big part of it. You know, I mean, even this music in the '60s. You know, that the whole reaction to the Vietnam War. You know, the Hendrixes and the Joplins and the Chambers Brothers and all that old stuff. You know, it was all a reaction to this, to what was going on in the world. You know, we've all become so separated now as countries and individuals and religious sects and races and sexual orientation and this and that. You know, it's really not one big community anymore. Everybody's off in their little sect and they do what they do and never the twain shall meet, and that's just the way the world is now. It's very different.
Yeah, I think the world has expanded as well, and with music in itself. There are so many subgenres of music now that it's hard to even be able to keep track of them, you know. And even those subgenres, it's almost cool to not like other subgenres, if you know what I mean. So there's a bit of a battle between what is cool to like. So it's hard to keep track. I mean, for if we go back to the Grammys, for example, it's probably hard for the Grammys to keep track of all these things, and so they put it under this one big blanket name. But everybody that you're containing in that name are actually battling each other because they don't like each other, because they're all trying to be more elitist than each other. And so they probably don't really enjoy or appreciate being bundled all together in these. So they don't even participate, I don't think. Like Jason was saying way back, you know, they don't even want to participate, I don't think, because everything's, it's all mixed up. But I think the world is a bigger place and things have changed massively. It's really hard to keep track of, really is.
I mean, you definitely don't put, I mean, to get off the heavy metal thing, and I was going to mention that about the Grammys. You know, I mean, the categorization, like I was saying, there's so many genres. You know, I mean, let's take heavy metal for just example real quick. Let's talk, you know, do you have just a heavy metal category and incorporate bands like Lamb of God versus a band like, say, Metallica even, or Dimmu Borgir with Lamb of God? I mean, it's totally different. You know, almost opposite sides of the spectrum. Yeah, they're both heavy and there's distorted guitars and big double bass drumming, but that doesn't necessarily make it the same genre. It's kind of like putting Katy Perry and Aretha Franklin in the same category. You can't do that.
To the uninitiated, it might all sound the same, but to the purist, it's very different.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yep. Yeah, interesting. Well, interesting discussion, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to get on here and just kind of toss some of the different things around with it being Grammy Day and everything. And it'll be coming on in the West Coast here in about 20 minutes. So I think we'll wrap this up. But anybody got any parting words they want to say or anything? Feel free to jump in now.
Just with this, I was listening to Black Sabbath 13th, and you know how, sorry, Miss Jason was saying that the band doesn't have the same energy. I just started playing with the band like 2 weeks ago, and we recorded some jams with everyone playing in the room at the same time, just recording with 2 mics, and I was listening back to some takes, and it's like, God, the energy was amazing. And
good point. Good point.
Yeah, so we're planning to record an EP, everyone playing in the same room at the same time, maybe even track the vocals at the same time, and I want bleeds everywhere, and just keep it really raw and fresh, basically.
That's one thing that Dave Grohl was really passionate about with doing doing Sound City and the what's the series, HBO series.
Sonic Highways.
Sonic Highways. That's the one that he kept on saying throughout. That was the whole thing about playing in the same room and the whole band feeling. And I think that's probably what we're talking about. And what we were talking about before is very, very different. Get a bunch of guys in a room and you get vibe. If you're all tracking individually in a studio, one at a time, you're not vibing off each other. And that might be the cold feeling that Jason was talking about before.
Yeah. There's something about, too, it's just kind of like even on a sports team or whatever, the other guys make you better, and you make them better when you're in the room. I mean, just something magical happens there that doesn't happen when you're by yourself,
Hey, man, I have a question, and this is just for the group. Just in, 2015, we keep using this word good in general, right? In 2015 and beyond, who should pick good, and how should it be? How should good be represented? Because good is such a selective word, and good can be so political. So, what's the new way we need to look if we're thinking different on how something is looked at as good or worth looking at, rather than just going for what everybody else says is good?
Good to what end or for what purpose?
That's just the question. I'm just asking a question just to be an upstart.
I think one thing that's interesting is that good is always going to be determined by the people in general, but good gets hijacked by the others that try to guide it. But ultimately, the people are going to decide that, because no matter how many times things have been tried to get shoved down people's faces, good, if the people decide that that's not good, it's not going to happen. So good is always going to keep changing according to what the people determine.
So Jason is never going to like Katy Perry.
No. It's not that
she makes a heavy metal record,
No, it's not that I'll never like Katy Perry. It's just that I'm not a fan of what she does. Do I think
she's good at what she does, but not everybody likes
good. I mean, I honestly, I agreed with Khaliq to some point that, the fans are going to determine what's good. But there's a flip side to that, though. I mean, the fans don't really kind of get to choose. They get to choose out of what gets shoved down their throats what's good. But there's still stuff being shoved down their throats, and that's, I think, is the big problem. I think that's really the problem with the music industry. It's
the producers.
Like not just the producers, but the marketing aspect too. You know, the big marketing firms and the big record companies put their money behind this artist, so that's the artist they're going to push. There's a story that I heard years ago. It was pretty funny, actually. David Lee Roth, Van Halen, walks into whatever record label they were on at the time, and they walk in one day, and his photo's up on the wall behind the desk, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, not David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar, sorry. And so is the whole Van Halen thing. You know, there's a big Van Halen poster when you first walk into
Van Hagar.
Yeah, couple, 2-3 years later, he walks in and his poster's not there anymore, and all of a sudden it's the band who's got the #1 hit on the radio. It's Warrant, and the poster was up long before, you know, the band had the #1 hit. I mean, it's just the way the record industry works. They push what they want to push, and they pick and choose. And
then you saw what happened to Warrant.
Well, I harken it back to the days of payola. You know, I harken it back to the days of payola. It's basically the same damn thing, except nobody's getting paid under the table now. You know, all the money's right there for you to plainly see, but nobody's bitching about it.
Right. You know? I think it is going back to the original album. I mean, before the producers came in, you know, it was creative emotion. They had control, and now, like you say, it's the music industry. They have all these rules, regulations, and suggestions, and this is what's going to make money. This is what the people want, when really that's not what the people want. It's all about money.
I got a question for you guys, though, because, see, here's what's interesting. I mean, I would agree 100% with you on that, Jason, except for one different aspect of it to look at because of the changing climate now. The record labels and the record industry, music industry in general, is sweating because for the first time, I mean, they've been producing these stats out here where, you know, record sales, CD sales, and even downloads are going the way of the dodo bird now. You know, streaming and direct to consumer is being more chosen, and customized solutions like that are definitely the wave of it. So the stuff that they could control before is not as much. It's not the same way that it was as far as being able to control the discovery of what's going on. Now the big problem with that is because it's all in digital format and electrons, it's just a matter of time before they figure out a way to snare it because it's just numbers. So they will figure a way to manipulate the numbers. We know that. But right now, as far as what's going on out there, they haven't gotten it yet. So it is kind of going more directly towards the people and not what's getting shoved down their throats. And more things are getting rejected now. They've tried it, and then their numbers are steadily going down on the graph. Nielsen just released a whole lot of statistics over the last couple of months, and it's showing that a lot of what they're doing is not working for what they're trying to guide and make you think is what's happening. So what do you guys think about that?
I think the Taylor
Sorry.
Taylor Swift's whole thing is the biggest example. You know, she took her records off the streaming. People wanted to hear it, so what did they do? They went and bought it, and what do you get? The first platinum record of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
The labels aren't in control anymore, and they don't like it. You know, I don't necessarily think that the labels are the people to look at for the success either. I think the labels stopped looking after the artists, and so the artists stopped caring about the labels.
Right.
and started producing their own stuff and selling direct to the fans. And the artists have to look after the fans. They're the ones that are paying the artists, and the fans are always going to go for the direct relationship with the artist if they can, because they don't want the shield of a label in the way. They want to feel like they're talking to the band if they can. I mean, Taylor Swift is a brilliant example. I don't know if you've seen, she does things for her fans that you wouldn't believe anybody else would. She talks to them direct. She sends them presents. She does all kinds of crazy stuff, and that's what people really want. And the labels are upset because they can't get a handle on that. Now, obviously, her label is probably doing great because of it, but I think it's her personality and her drive that's done a good thing. Now, you know, the whole counting sales and quantifying them in CD sales or streaming or whatever. I wonder how much is sold or consumed that is unquantifiable, i.e. not measured because it's not going through the system. We don't get to see that, and I'm very interested to know, you know, to find out how we can find out more about that, because I would imagine that there's a hell of a lot of stuff that is not measurable that is happening. You know, I think that the landscape has changed, and we have no map. We don't know what the landscape is because there's so much going on that we don't know about.
Well, that's just it. The landscape has changed. Right now, they haven't recognized yet that accessibility is the new celebrity. So just like you said, you know, okay, you can listen to a Katy Perry album, blah, 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 but do you have access to her? Can you put something on Twitter and she actually responds to it? Can you say, she says, oh, I'm having this contest and blah, 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 and whoever I select in a contest, I'm going to come to your birthday party, or whatever it is that she does, right? That's the new celebrity. And people don't recognize that.
And she knows she has to do that kind of thing to stay on top. No longer is it a case of let your marketing team do the background work for you. You've got to be up front and do all of those things that maybe you had a team do in the past.
Maybe you have a team that tells you to do that. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but then that's a good marketing team because they're
right. I mean, either way, that's what it is at this point. You know, just like right now, we're all over the world, literally, right now, and we're chatting with each other, sharing information, then we're going to go about our day. This is the new style. Everybody could do this because this is free. None of us are paying a dime to do this. You know what I'm saying? So, but we're the ones taking advantage of it. We're the ones making it work. And for the people who do not want to take advantage of the technology, they're just going to get left behind. So that's how it's going to happen, the same way with people that don't recognize this issue with accessibility. You know, we don't want television shows where you watch Friends or whatever it is you watch, and then when the show is over, you have no access to any of the actors. Meanwhile, you have people who do a lot less than they do, make a lot less money than they do, but they have a lot more fans than they do because they're sitting there responding to them and making passionate consumers who are telling other people, hey, this person is really cool, you should follow them, and you should support them, and you should donate to them, and you should use their Kickstarter, and you should buy their albums and all this other stuff. That's how it works now.
Maybe this is the blueprint for many other things, though. You know, can you imagine if what we're doing now? You know, we are in control right now of what we're doing. Can you imagine if that transferred over to things like politics? Where, you know, screw the political parties, we're going to get together and have a talk about it ourselves.
Yeah, seriously.
You know, it could be the blueprint for bigger things, but I think really it is that people are sick of being things shoved down their throat, and they want to take control of their own destiny as such, and maybe this is what it's all about.
I have a little story just quickly to share. I don't know how many of you know an Australian band called Tame Impala. They're like psychedelic rock. They're quite huge here, and they were doing some residency in LA 2 years ago. But they're quite huge, and they play big festivals over here and all around the world. But it's basically a project started by one guy. He does all the recording in his studio. He records all the instruments, and he puts together a band to tour. So what he's been doing is he's signed up to a record label. Initially, he got a few albums out, but when he's touring and playing big festivals with, I don't know, 100,000 people watching him play, he takes demos that he made at home, like a 5-track CD or something, and he just sells them for $5. And just imagine if you're touring, playing for 20,000, 30,000 people, $5. They want to directly come to see you and get the CD from your hand instead of going to a record store. There's no middleman, nothing.
Well, that's where a lot of the artists make their money, is merch sales, you know.
Yeah, that's the new model for sure, because, you know, like here was the interesting thing. Even though they've proven out that streaming has turned the tide and is bringing more income in, it's not filtering down to the artists, and you know, the numbers are sketchy out there right now, you know. So that's why I say once they really get it down, they're definitely going to manipulate the digits, you know, the ones and zeros are going to get manipulated. So that's a great new model to get it directly from the consumer, directly from your fan, somebody that's hyped up about you right now at the moment. I really think that's going to be the new model, and getting in partnership with a lot of these people that call themselves running it. Because the only advantage, really, when you think about it, if you can build a fan base that's solid, that supports you and everything, then you use the record labels and the other people in the industry to scale, because that's what they're good at, distribution. But if you start from a solid base of your own that's coming direct to you, and then you'll have them looking at you, is because you've done the hard work, you're getting most of the money in, and then you dole them out a cut, as opposed to the other way around. You know, that's really going to be the new model.
Khaliq, I had a question for you. You say, just off topic for a second, quoting you, you said, even though no one can guarantee a hit, there are certain concepts, approaches, tips, and formulas that will increase your chances. Have you ever done a hangout? I know you don't want to give up probably too much tips and techniques, but, you know, like on the reverb and delay that we hear on a lot of records, it's, you know, for instance, would you ever consider doing a hangout based on?
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite subjects, actually, and that's one of those ones I would love to do. And I've actually done some previous training for some of my students, and I do stuff like that definitely for my private coaching clients, because that's the secret sauce. You know, that was the stuff that I used to, when I was assisting and watch over guys' shoulders. That's where the magic really kind of happens, you know, to make something go, just instead of it being flat and sonically good, to that next level sound. And yeah, I love doing stuff like that, digging in to knowing why do these things take on such a little life that a lot of people do all the right stuff, all the stuff that they're told to do, and it's the right stuff and everything, but it still stays within the pile at the bottom of the pyramid. Then there's these couple things that rise above to the pinnacle of the pyramid, and it's that little thing that just makes it happen. Little secret sauce stuff that is just about how you look at it. You know, you might be looking at it and doing all the right things from looking at it straight ahead, but look at those same things, but move your view over to here or over to here, and can make all the difference in the world. So I definitely will be doing stuff like that in the future.
All right, and I'd be willing to pay. I mean, I looked on your site, and it didn't look like you're accepting anything now, but I'd be willing to pay for that information.
Well, I got some good stuff coming up this year, because quite a few people, quite frankly, have been asking me. I've been a little low, so that's why I do these hangouts, because it's like, you know, I love giving from my heart and helping and doing things that I can do. But I also, you know, do different trainings, so some things free, some things paid, and all that. And quite frankly, a lot of people are like, Khaliq, you know, we need you to release some more stuff to us, because you've been a little quiet lately. I think effects and stuff like that was always something that I was interested in. I think a lot of people are interested in stuff like that. You know, everybody knows about EQ and some of the normal things like that, but effects are really the secret sauce. So I definitely want to get in there, knowing how and why, how to stack things, the order of moving things around, how to move things from left to right using, you know, scientific principles like what our ears do with Haas effect and things, you know, all these things. When you know how to blend them all together, it's really fascinating to build on a sound. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I'm definitely getting into that.
I mean, even if you have like master classes that you hold, or maybe you take interns or whatever you do, definitely interested moving out that way. So.
Ears open, brother. A lot is getting ready to come hot and heavy. I've actually been working on a lot of stuff now, and rather than just releasing it as the norm, I'm systemizing everything so that, you know, it'll be easy to go, you know, because it's one thing to have a bunch of tools and say you can do this and you can do that and you can do this and you can do that, you know, but seeing why and leading from step A to B to C to D and everything, I think is very important and very helpful. So this is what I'm in the process of doing now, to make sure that you know, when you leave with a result that's like, wow, I can't wait to even just do this on the next thing, and I know why, and it's repeatable. That's what's really good, repeatable, because a lot of people do something that may work in one instance, and they go to do the same thing another time, and it doesn't work, and they don't understand why, and it's because they didn't have the A to Z process to know why you're doing it in the first place. So then it just becomes a tactic as opposed to a strategy. You know, I want to teach people strategies.
Passing on your legacy through people, in a sense.
Absolutely, you know, because that's what was done with me. You know, I was mixing and recording and doing a lot of stuff with some of the best people, and I would copy a lot of their stuff. They did exactly, and I was getting hit and miss results at different times until one of my main mentors, Tommy Vicari, just sat me down and took me through his thought process. And the same thing, you know, this is why I love, you know, like Dave Pensado, what he's been doing. He's been showing people exactly what he does for decades now. Oh, well, I guess it's been a long time, at least a decade. You know, from starting from the forums and stuff that he used to post on and all that. But people would copy it exactly and still couldn't get the same results until as of now, recently, he's doing what he tells you what he's thinking about when he's doing it. But even more, the next step is anybody that gets in, like Cole, who is his assistant and sees him working, is right there with him to hear the thought process, to know the why. That's the valuable part. When you're right there with somebody and they're taking you step A, B, C, D, it goes beyond just having the tactics. Okay, I see this tactic that he did, but I don't know why, when, what's appropriate, when not to, how to adjust in real time and all that. That's the whole secret sauce and everything, and that's what I'm trying to systemize for the next level of what I do as well, to be helpful.
Right, that's what I'm looking for, is a in-person, hands-on questions, you know.
Yeah,
from, you know, via the internet, and try to apply it like you say, and you know.
Yeah, you know, that's the big thing, saving time, man. And music, man, I'm so hopeful now for what music is doing now, because, you know, you can find any information you want out there now, you know, and the key is knowing what to use and what not to use, because it can confuse you, you know, it can stunt you, you know. You can have all the information in the world, and sometimes it can actually be too much. So that's what happened with me, you know, when I first wanted to learn how to EQ and get things like that. Well, I learned all kinds of stuff, read every book out there, and learned from every engineer that I watched, but I had too much going on, and one guy stopped me and said, okay, you know, you got all this information, but it's too much. Throw all that out. It's filed away. It's not going to go anywhere. It's in you. Leave it in your file cabinet, but let's take this one thing and understand, here's what you're doing, and then start asking yourself these questions. And when you start asking yourself specific questions at a specific time and order, that's when you start getting results that are repeatable.
Right. Who better to learn from than the Grammy-winning, you know, engineers? Obviously, they got a Grammy.
We learn from everybody, you know. But the thing is that because it's just like Tiger Woods, you know. You know, he had more than one golf coach, you know, and anybody out there, I'm sure Tom Brady and all these, you know, you take different things from different people, but one person will be with you all the time to keep you on point. That's really the key, is you need one person to keep you on point. You know.
Yeah, that'll definitely be powerful content, Khaliq. Garrett, when I was studying effects, one of the good ways to do it is you get a plug-in, for instance, the free plug-in by Voxengo, MSED. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you would listen to whatever track in mid only, and then you would listen to it in side only. Okay. So basically, what that does for you is when you yank the middle out of it and you take the whole vocal out of it, you can hear more easily what the returns are, what the echoes are, what the verb is, assuming it's a stereo verb. And then when you're listening to it in mono, you can see what they're sending down the middle, which might be a mono echo or a mono verb or whatever it is. It's easier to hear it that way than to listen to the whole song and try to figure it out.
Cool, thank you.
And plus, Garrett, if you know, I don't know how long you've been following me or whatever, but previously in the past, I've done some training on mid-side, knowing how to do it manually. Because knowing how to do it from plugin is one thing, but if you know how to do it manually and actually use the phase reversal techniques to manually make and pull out mid-side stuff and information, that's when you can really customize how you're hearing the things, seeing what's happening. You can tell the quality of plugins, like, you know, why is one reverb any better than another? You know, they're all reverb, but you can literally hear the different qualities, hear diffusion and, you know, different ways that the algorithms make things happen on this by knowing how to use a manual approach to deconstruct what's going on. That way, when you do hear it in the overall scheme of things of any song, you can kind of tell and pull it out. You know, whereas if your ear isn't trained at first, you may not even think there's anything going on. But after a while, you can just kind of hear it, even if it sounds dry.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention for the viewers that MSED is free. So Voxengo MSED, just look it up.
Yeah, Voxengo, right? Yeah, cool, cool. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up here. I guess the Grammys are starting out here, so I'm gonna go ahead and go down. I missed the first part, but I've got DVR, so I'll rewind it. Everybody have a wonderful day. Catch you guys later, and talk to y'all. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Enjoy. Good chat. Appreciate everybody here. Peace.
Enjoy the Grammys.
Right.